Hi everybody, welcome to Fierce and Pretty. I'm Hanni, and today we're going deeper into my Thoth studies with this second episode. And this is rather one of the detours that I mentioned in the first video. But today I'm going through actually one book and one shorter publication. So that's why I'm also going through two decks today. Let's first jump into the decks. So the first deck is my golden edition on the Thoth deck. So simply the images are the same as in any other Thoth deck, so no big mysteries there, but the edges are gilded. This was my second Thoth deck that I purchased, and I have made a walkthrough of this deck if you want to see more. But it's just a Thoth deck with gilded edges. But the second deck I bought simply because reading the book that we are going to cover today, the Qabalistic Tarot by Robert Wang. And before picking up that book, I had never even been looking at the images on the different editions that we have on the market on the Golden Dawwn Tarot. So this was created by Robert Wang under the direction of Israel Regardie. But let's see what the little white book says about this deck. It says that the copyrights are 1978 by US Games, and rarely has a tarot deck created more pre-publication interest than the long-awaited Golden Dawn pack by Dr. Robert Wang, a devoted scholar and researcher of the Secret Order of the Golden Dawn. Then it goes through a bit about the Golden Dawn there, and then it says the Golden Dawn Tarot is the only truly esoteric deck ever to be published. It is also the only deck to reach public view which was designed for the exclusive use of a powerful secret fraternity, and which includes the accurate tarot symbolism kept shrouded in mystery for hundreds of years by the Western esoteric tradition. So these are not, we don't have anywhere the actual deck that the Golden Dawn members used. But as far as I've understood, this should be the closest one that we do have that was recreated under the supervision of Israel Regardie. If you're interested to read more about these characters, please do. I can also link Robert Wang's short biography that I found online. Let's look quickly at the cards. So the detour that brought me to this book and deck was the Tree of Life. It was a part of the first book that I read, Valon Malo Duquette, and I hadn't studied anything about this subject before. So these images are really, I don't know, childlike drawings to my opinion. Quite simple. And not at all to my taste. As you can see, the deck is still in order. I haven't shuffled it. I haven't used it for any other purpose than to study. So I don't know if I ever will end up using it. I don't know. Just for some reason I haven't had the urge to read with it, at least not yet. maybe in the future. And the main thing, I'll just skip through the majors quickly. He's cool though. But then when we come to the minors, the suits, these are so white, so simple, just kind of simple pip cards with just the hands there on top of the ones in this suit. But they are so white. The court cards have more color again. But then again, with the cups, white, white, white. Then we do have but as we can see, when it comes to the subject at hand, Thoth Tarot, which is quite different than in the Rider-Waite-Smith. Here we see the similarities. In this deck we do see the similarities when it comes to the court cards, for example. Here in both of the Prince of Cups we do have the eagle pulling the prince. We do have the cups with the snakes. We do have the eagle symbol there and here on his chest. So we do have actually a lot more similarities than to compare to Rider-Waite-Smith, where, just in case somebody don't know, I'll show. So this guy, the Knight of Cups, would be the same guy, the Prince of Cups. I'll go into the logic behind the court cards in Thoth Tarot in some point, but for time's sake not now. So there we have the decks for today's video, and let's then jump into the book that will make us understand better why I got this deck in the first place. So this is my self-printed copy of the Qabalistic Tarot by Robert Wang. The reason why I ended up printing it out from my computer was that I was trying to look on it from the bookstores where I normally order my books, and I couldn't find it. But then on the way of doing that research, I found a PDF online. I was like, okay, let's check it out there. But it's a rather long book, so I didn't feel that I would like to read it with the computer. So during these times when we are home and we have a lot of extra time, I ended up printing it out. And sorry, you hear in the beginning, this might be a bit noisier book because it's in a binder. I do have some extra material here. I have done some searching online on the different pictures of the Tree of Life and printed them out, because there is actually so much information that goes into this one figure. It's not enough that you have the Sephiroth, then the numbers, then the paths, then how the Hebrew letters, but then you do have angels and you have colors and so many layers upon layers upon layers. So this book, it is, let's see, around 300 pages long, so rather a longer book. In the introduction of this book, Robert Wang says, "This is a book of philosophy, of metaphysics, describing a profound system of self-exploration embedded in 78 simple pictures known as the Tarot. And while these cards have long been publicly associated with odd cults and gypsy fortune tellers, they are increasingly capturing the attention of serious students who view the cards as repository of a very complex system for the development of inner knowledge. And then it talks a lot of background on these subjects. Then it has a section on the Golden Dawn. It goes through the Golden Dawn Tarot, and it says there is only one known published reference to the origin of the Golden Dawn Tarot. This appears in the 1945 autobiography of Iris, the artist and poet Ella Young. In the book Flowering Dusk, she describes a visit to the home of the mothers, having been brought there by Maud Gonne, a member of the order. And then it says, it appears that a finished deck was painted by Mrs. Mathers, a very accomplished artist. But we don't have anywhere the original Golden Dawn deck. And as I said with the cards, that this Robert Wang's deck is from 1978. And I do know that we do have other editions on this deck now on the market, but they are all as real as this one. Then it goes through the Rider-Waite deck and Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. Then the Book of Tea. The book Tea is actually also, I will link that because I have that one also in a PDF. Yes, so I actually haven't printed out this yet, but I do have it on my iBooks, the book Tea, with an illustrated version that I found online. But I can also link this document to the comments. It's not a long publication because the pictures take some space there, but I will link this one also too. So as you can see, yet another detour, but the book Tea. Then on the page 19 we get into Kabbalah, to the origins of Kabbalah, and no one has any hard evidence or hard proof about anything, who's done and what and when. But in total, Kabbalah is a really old thing and a whole system. And we do have people like the Hebrews who are really digging into the Kabbalah in the traditional way, and then we do have these modern tarot people that have adopted the Kabbalah, and then we do have the religious part of the Kabbalist, but I won't dig too deep into that subject, but it's something that pops out in every book that you read about Kabbalah. This book has also very many different pictures of the Tree of Life that help you understand it a bit more, like piece by piece by piece. For example, because we do have the Sephiroth, these bowls where the minor arcana goes. Then we do have the paths, the 22 paths, where the major arcana goes. And then we do have the 4 different worlds. We do have Atzilut, Bria, Yetsirah, and Asaya. Those 4 worlds. I will show something about that too soon. But then we do have the Neshama, Ruach, and Nepsech. So many concepts about this being, this Neshama being the most higher on the above the abyss, on the highest triad or triangle, where no human mind can understand these stuff. And then we do have the ruach, the parts that people can access and understand a bit more. And then we do have the nefesh, the animal instincts in the Malkuth, in the 10th Sephiroth. But it is hard. Even I can't pronounce these names properly, and I don't fully understand the concepts yet. But I'm learning every day. But there is a lot to learn, as you can see here, the different ways and the different diagrams. So there are so many layers of this. So as I said just earlier about the 4 different worlds, this gives a bit of clarity to that also. So we do have the Absolute, the archetypal world. Then we do have Bria, the creative world, Yetsirah, the formative world, and then Asaya, the active world. And I do have also, I can attach up there some images about how these worlds are going on top of each other. And as you can see, I have been also doing some coloring. I just realized that this video might end up being really long. Sorry about that, but I try to also add in something informative if somebody is not willing to read these books and just want some highlights. So here's one good table about the Tree of Life, showing how the minors sit in the Tree of Life. So up in the top in the Kether are all the aces. Then all the 2s are in Chokmah. All the 3s go to Binah. All the 4s are here in Chesed. All the 5s are here in Geburah. All the 6s go in the middle in Tiferet. All the 7s are in Netzach. 8s in Hod. 9s in Yesod. And 10s in Malkuth. Then a few words about the court cards. The court cards also sit inside the Sephiroth. The kings, or the knights as they are in the Thoth deck, sit here in the 2nd Sephiroth of Chokmah. The queens sit in the 3rd Sephiroth, Binah. All the princes are here in the 6th Sephiroth of Tiferet, and princesses are down here in Malkuth. So we do have the earth, the air, the water, and the fire. Also in this book we have other nice diagrams. I've searched better ones from internet that have more colors and things that help me learn better visually. I can show you a few of these that I have here. This table is one of my favorites, and as the detours go, this is a detour more also into the astrology side, but today we are focusing more on the Kabbalah side with the Qabalistic Tarot. But just show you quickly, I've colored it a bit myself also here with all the big pinks being the fire signs. Then we have the green ones showing the pentacles, the earth, the yellow to air, swords, and the purple, because I couldn't find my blue one, here cups for water. But this goes through also with which fire sign, Aries being the cardinal, then Leo being the fixed, and then Sagittarius being the mutable, for example, for fire. But there are layers upon layers upon layers even in the astrology part. But let's get back to the original subject of this book on the Kabbalah. Sorry for that. So then this book starts in a different way of going through the cards. It doesn't go majors, chord cards, minors. No. It arranges the cards aligned to the Tree of Life. And here we start at the first Sephiroth, Kether, the crown, where all the 4 aces are. Then it gives also other symbols that are attached to it, and colors, and a whole lot of information. It tells you that Archangel Metatron is here, and so we do have the angels. We do have a lot of stuff. Then it jumps into the aces and goes through them in each suit. And now we get to the point why I picked up this deck. It's because these pictures that I did have in this printed version, and even I guess I haven't seen the actual book, but I don't think they are good color pictures. They are quite small. So it goes through every card. It has these Golden Dawn images, the Thoth image, the Rider-Waite-Smith, and then the Marseille. So the only one that I didn't get, or I don't have, is the Marseille deck. I haven't dipped my toes in that pool yet. I know, and in one point I'll end up getting also Marseille, but it is a whole different system. So because I've started with Rider-Waite-Smith, now struggling to learn more about Thoth. And just, I wanted to compare the images, how much similarities there are between these 2 systems. But at some point, when I end up getting Marseille, I can do the same thing and look. But I am quite familiar, even though I don't have the Marseille deck. I've seen enough images to know about them. But if you do have all these 4 decks, you could always pick up the cards while doing this and doing the exercise and seeing what things are similar, what are different. And what surprised me the most was because when I started with RWWS, I didn't know much about anything. So I started from 0. But actually all the esoteric stuff is quite well hidden in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Waite choose to just hint to these things, whereas Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris brought them more into the cards, and so that people are able to see more. So actually there are a lot deeper things shown a bit more hiddenly, or I think what I'm trying to say is that it's harder to dig into the mysteries with the Rider-Waite-Smith, because then it is, if you read about the Thoth, you learn much more easily, much more about the esoteric things also. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. But let's continue. So it just goes through each of the Sephiroth. Now we jump into the second Sephiroth of Chokmah, wisdom, and it tells you the 4 twos are there, and then the 4 kings are there, and it gives the symbols, the phallus, the line, yod, and then on top of this, all this tree of life thing, there comes another important layer, which is the Hebrew alphabet, where here we see the yod. And a big part of everything that you read, you see the yod hey vav hey, the name of the god with the Hebrew alphabets. And this has brought me into another detour that I will leave to another session of these videos about getting deeper into the Hebrew alphabets. But this book, I think it's enough when you read this to, of course you could also try to dig in deeper to the Hebrew alphabets, but I think this gives you more about the tree of life than it does with the Hebrew alphabets, even though they are here included and they are talked upon. So in this book it goes through the Sephiroth, and the court cards are included whenever you are in their Sephiroth. So in the 2, 3, 6, and then finally after this, the tens, all the tens, we go through the last court card, the princesses, and then them in each suit. Then after going through all the Sephiroth, so all the different colored balls in the round balls in the tree of life, we are ready in this book to jump into the paths, the 22 paths. And in this point I encountered another detour called the Sepher Yetsirah, or Yetsirah, or however you should pronounce it. No one actually knows when or who has written all this. There is different information on about that. But this translation that I have is from W. Westcott from 1887. And it is short, 8 pages when I printed it out. Not very easy text, not very rational to understand. And what Robert Wang says here in this book, he says, as has been indicated, the tarot is usually related to the Sepher Yetsirah, or Book of Formation. This brief but major document of esoteric cosmology purports to demonstrate the rational framework and course of creation of our universe. Yet, as with all truly enlightened works, it is not intended to be read. It must rather be used as a stimulus to meditation. So, yes, I read the Sepher Yetsirah. Did I get much out of it? Not yet, at least, I don't know. But I wanted to read it. I wanted to get it, and now I do have it if I want to go back to it. And I might speak more about the Sepher Yetsirah when I get to another book which is not practically part of my Thoth Studies, but that I have encountered during this. And it's this book, Tarot and the Gates of Light by Mark Horn. This is not a book about the Thoth system, but it's about the tree of life. And it has practical meditations about counting the Omer and whatever. But I think in this point, when I really start with, I've just read the beginning of this. I haven't started with the counting exercises and the meditations yet. But here I might find the Sepher Yetsirah helpful again. But enough about detours. So about the 22 paths that join the 10 Sephiroth. There are the place for each of the court cards. And I've done these exercises myself on the floor with my Thoth cards. I'll show you some pictures here of arranging the minors and then the majors to these paths. To be honest, even after reading quite many books yet, I don't have a really good understanding about why everything is where they are and what that actually means. But my main intention during these coming months and I guess years of these studies is to really understand why. Now I'm kind of learning where everything is and what I can on the matter. But to truly understand why that is and what it means, I think is a challenging. Or then I'm just a bit simple. But then we do have figures also explaining more about the Hebrew letters that I also mentioned in the first video, the maternal, the double, the simple letters. But I think we will go more into the Hebrew letters later on when I talk more about Lon Milo Duquette's book about the Kabbalah and the Hebrew letters. Then there also comes, on top of the Tree of Life, on top of the Hebrew letters, which are in the past, you get astrology, you get the planets assigned to the Sephiroth, and which will lead, at least it led me, to yet another side path and another side path. Astrology in total for me is not very familiar topic. I've read about it, but to really understand it I will need, I guess, several years of studies also in astrology, and I find astrology even harder to study on my own. But thank God we do have great also YouTube channels about astrology on top of books, which will give me more. But by reading each book you get a little bit about something. So I think this book gives good base on many of these layers that are included in the Kabbalistic way of studying the tarot. Then if the Tree of Life isn't complicated enough, you could start to learn the same thing in the Cube of Space, where also all the major arcana are. Or then this book gives you also about numerology, but the numerology comes through the Hebrew letters, because all the Hebrew letters are assigned to numbers. So it's not just standard numerology about 4s meaning this or 5s meaning this, but you get numbers from letters. So yay, challenge. Probably not yet exit. As you can see here, for example, the Hebrew letter Tzadi, that was a contradictory letter, because earlier the Tzadi was assigned to the card Star, but when Aleister Crowley received the book of Law, he also received the information that Tzadi is not the star. So he ended up changing it after a long period of thinking and trying to make a sound logic to it. So Tzadi is changed for the Emperor. But for example, its numerical value is 90,900. So there's just a glimpse of the numerology behind all this Hebrew alphabet. And on top of that, of course, you have the meanings for the letters. For example, Tzadi being a fish hook. When it comes to the writing style, I think Lon Milo Duquette's book, that's why I chose his books, also about the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, is that he's a funny writer. This book is a bit dry and sometimes a bit pompous, I guess that would be the right word, where he just keeps on throwing the knowledge that he has on top of the knowledge. But it isn't the fastest and easiest book to read, on my opinion. But you end up having so many layers, like the supernal triangle, ethical triangle, astral triangle, and the different worlds that we checked earlier. But the further you go in this book, the more layers you get. And the way it goes through the paths are each path in order. But now, rather than starting from on top with Kether, as we did with the Sephiroth, we start from the bottom, because we are starting from Malkuth, the 10th Sephiroth, the way up. And then the path's name is the Path of Tau. The Tau is the Hebrew letter, and then it has the card here, the universe card, color for the path, which color it should be, related sound, A, natural, planet Saturn, meaning Tau, cross, equal, armed cross, the double letter, power, servitude, and esoteric title, the Great One of the Night of Time. And that's the information all that you get even before starting with the actual path. And the study of paths begins not with the first card, the Fool, but with the last, the Universe. And the Path of Tau, the Universe, joins Malkuth, the Earth, with Yesod, the Foundation. And just for the first path, for the Universe card, we get 1, 2, 3, 4.5 pages. So there's a lot to read. But so we continue to the next path, which is Shin, and then you have the mother leather here, and or maternal letter of fire. And so the book. Then after we've covered all the Sephiroth with the minors, and then the paths with the majors, and all the several pictures and figures about the Tree of Life and these different parts, we end up with the section of practical work. And it talks about scrying, meaning the projection of oneself into an inner vision is actually very simple. It involves nothing more than sitting quietly in front of a tarot card or other stimulus, closing one's eyes and stepping into that card in imagination. So this is the thing that we refer often in these YouTube videos about path working. And this book says that if we make no attempt to directly encounter these images and energies, the whole system of Kabbalah and Tarot is utterly useless. So the point where I'm now is that I'm reading, I am studying, but I know that soon I will have to start with my practical works. And that means that I do have, because now when I meditate, I don't meditate with the tarot cards or do path working. And that's one reason why I bought the book about counting the Omer that I showed you from my cell phone earlier, that I would have some good reasons to start to do that. But my good intention is to get deeper with this practical work, but I still have few books that I want to finish. I want to understand more and then start to apply the knowledge by doing path work. Then this book goes into divination right in the end, and we have the same spread that is also in the little white book of the Thoth Tarot. So this is the little white book from my Thoth Greenie, and here we see the exact same spread. And even the little white book in my Thoth deck says, the best description of this method was written by MacGregor Mathers and first published in Israel regarded the Golden Dawn. It has also been reprinted in an introduction to the Golden Dawn Tarot by Robert Wang. So they all use the same 15 card spread. Then quite the same logic and as in Lon Milo's book. The divinatory meanings are just really short here. Continuation, I will read here also the same card that I read from Lon Milo's book. So I will choose the Death card. And the divinatory meanings here in the Qabalistic Tarot book says time, age, transformation, sometimes death, destruction, but rarely the latter, and only if it is borne out by the cards with it. Compare also with High Priestess. Okay, interesting sentence. But this spread that I showed there is also challenging for a beginner level tarot reader like me, because in these systems you have to compare the cards more between each other, how they affect the one card to the other, and what type of meaning it draws out from the specific card. I'm still personally a bit more in that beginner state where I can now read the cards card by card, and sometimes I do get to read a bigger picture. For example, between 3 cards, if I use a 9-card spread, then I can find meanings, but not always. I think that's a part that I need time and practice with to understand how the other cards relate to it. I think it's easier to understand more about if you have a lot more cups or 5 wands as fire, so the elements and how they mean. But how individual cards, sometimes it's clearer, sometimes it's a bit more challenging. But the divinatory meanings in this book also are quite short. Then here in the notes section we do have a huge amount of reference literature. We have in total 292 reference books. And then we have an index where we can find after a word. So that was the Qabalistic Tarot by Robert Wang. Sorry if this video is a bit longer, a bit rambling, but so is the book, to be honest. A lot of knowledge, a lot of layers, not the easiest text to read, but not the hardest by any means. I survived, and this was the second book that I read after Lon Milo Duquette's book, so not too bad. So I think next time we will finally dig in a bit deeper with this book that I also showed in the first episode by Phyllis Seckler, and let's continue there after next time. If you have comments or questions, please post them down below, and hopefully I'll see you also next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!